always do that well at the eye tracking. So you can learn a lot from eye tracking. And just for posterity, here's a similar one from an Office 2007 study that we did. Yay, so we feel good about that. So the reason that you do all this evaluation is so that you can do one thing, and this is the most important word in the Office 2007 design vocabulary. This iteration. We knew that we would have to continually beat the drum, that we'd continually have to revise the product again and again and again as we evaluated. So there's no point evaluating something if you're not going to do something about it. So iteration was super important. And this is how we built it into the product cycle. So for us, it's about you design something, you prototype something, and you evaluate something. Ideally, you can take that green arrow back up to design and just go around and around and around with that, because that's cheaper. But we also knew that we'd have to do the big circle, which is sometimes we would code things and then reevaluate them and have to be willing to go back to the design phase with it. Which is to say, if you can't do the short circle, if you can only do the short circle, then you'll miss a bunch of opportunities to fix things once people have the actual product. So we did both of those. And what that required was planning time for iteration into the dev schedule. We knew certain things we'd have to do 3 times to get right. Microsoft has this history of getting it right the 3rd time. And so we figured we better do it 3 times during the product cycle for some things in order to get them right. So we designed an architecture that made it possible for us to make changes late in the cycle. We told people from the beginning, hey, we're going to be making a bunch of changes 6 months before we ship. What would it take to build an architecture that would make that less scary? So here's a case study of some place where we iterated and iterated and iterated to try to get something right. So this is around object formatting, which is like when you insert a picture into the document, how do you format it? So our first thought was, we'll just have a format tab. So that seems to make sense. We'll just put all the UI you need to format all of the objects inside the format tab. So when you have a picture selected, you have all the picture stuff in here. Well, there are 2 problems with that. One is the format tab was constantly changing. So when you had a picture or a table up, it had different things in it, and people were very confused by that. Also, there's a heck of a lot of formatting stuff in Office, and it didn't fit into one tab at all, even when you just piled everything into big buttons. So we ended up with Format 1, Format 2, and Format 3, or trying to come up with different names for them. But it just was clear that that wasn't going to work. And it also violated our design tenet of contextualization. So our next thought was on-object commands, which is, okay, get rid of the formatting tab altogether. Formatting stuff doesn't live in the ribbon anymore. Where it actually lives is down by the object. So when I click the picture, we'll bring up all the UI for formatting it right around it. And then I can click these little buttons, and I can get to different things right next to the picture. This violated everything, right? It's like now there's another place for commands. Some of the stuff's in the ribbon, some isn't. It also only works when you don't have any text here and the picture's small, and a bunch of reasons that this didn't work. So our next thought was something called immersive experiences. So here's the idea behind immersive experiences. Here's a picture of Abraham Lincoln, and if you notice, there's no format tab up here. And when I click this picture, we bring up a little thing that says Show Picture Tools. If I click that, the entire app changes to now become the picture app. So the normal tabs are gone, and a new ribbon shows up for a picture. It's your picture tools. And so now we can have lots of room to show lots of different tabs, so we can show effects and picture tools. And when you're done with it, you can go back to Word. So here you can drop stuff down. I can move this to the top right. And when I'm done with this, I can click away or click back to Microsoft Word, and all the picture tools go away, and then I'm left out. This didn't work because people felt totally confused by it. It's like, where did Word go, and how come a picture app booted? And another reason that it didn't work was, imagine the table scenario. So if I inserted a table, well, what features do you need inside the table tools if it's an app? Well, you certainly need, styles, and you need borders and shading. But you also need bold, and you can put a picture in a table, so you need all the picture tools. Actually, you need all the font tools, and you could be putting data in it, so you need all the data tools. Actually, if you type in Japanese, your entire document could actually be in a table. So it turns out you need all of the features of Word in the table tools, and pretty soon it made it clear that that wasn't going to be a good possibility. So our next try was something called contextual tabs. And the idea behind contextual tabs is, if I insert a picture, that an additional set of tabs, in addition to the main tabs, would show up over to the side. So you'd keep your main tabs, so we don't have to repeat all of the font stuff in the table tools, but you'd get additional tabs over here. And at the time we thought it was important that the main tabs duck down under it so that it was not confusing you. Later on we sort of abandoned that. But then I could still switch back to the main tabs, and then the picture tools would remain available over there. I could switch back to them and come back to the picture tools. So that was contextual tabs. However, those still had a problem. And I'm going to illustrate what that problem was by showing you the oldest living build of Office 2007, which is a build that was called DF4, which was like way pre-Beta 1 build of Office that I managed to dig up. And this is PowerPoint in this case. So it doesn't work all that well. But in this case, I'm going to click Insert, and I'm going to add a shape. Let me draw out a little circle here. I guess that's an octagon. And you'll see that we had contextual tabs implemented. So now we're already at the point where we're coding up all of our ideas. And imagine that I want to change the fill color of this. So I'm going to come over here and choose fill color. And we've got live preview all hooked up. Okay? Well, what we found out is once you have live preview hooked up, people are apt to experiment. And so people experimented with our galleries. And they would hover over the different things to look at it, and then they'd be like, well, fill color isn't really the command that I want. And so how would they dismiss this gallery? Well, they'd just click over here to the side. Clicking over there to the side deselected the shape. Because the shape wasn't selected, the contextual tabs are now gone. And so they go to look at the next button up in the ribbon, and it's gone. They're like, where did my shape stuff go? And we saw this happen again and again and again, because in Windows, when you have a menu up, focus goes, if you click out of the menu, focus goes through. So again and again, we would see people who would be over here using things, pop this down, they'd dismiss by clicking here, and all the tools were gone. So that wasn't going to work. So back to the drawing board again. So the next thing we did was something called contextual tabs with something we called eat dismiss clicks. And here's how that works, and I'll show you that by showing you the real product, where we ended up with. So if you remember this document that we were working on earlier, here's a picture, this koala that I was using. If I bring up the picture tools now, and I bring up a gallery, and watch if I click away from it, we eat the dismiss click. We don't send the focus through to the document. As a result, the picture tools remain up, and I can choose another gallery to look in it. So that's things that we learned over the course of a year of iteration, again and again and again, going through 5 versions. And actually, if I was telling you the real story, there's like another 4 or 5 versions that we did after that to get all of the interaction details exactly right. This is what iteration means to me. Mistakes. It could be that the purpose of your life is only to serve as a warning to others. Don't let this be you. So how does this story end? Well, the attention we put into the Office 2007 UI paid off. We won a number of awards, which is great. And throughout 2007, we've been #1 on Office 2007, has been #1 on Amazon.com software sales ranks, which is great as well. But that wasn't really the purpose of doing what we did. The purpose of it was to actually reinvent Office, to help solve these goals, make the software easier to use, help save people time, help people discover more of the power of Office, and help them create beautiful, powerful documents. So did we do that? Well, this is a survey that we did of Office 2007 users who used the product for at least 2 months, of 4 different countries, and of all skill levels, beginner through advanced. And here's what we learned. Green lines are good,